With Destined Rivals pre-orders most likely dropping this week, it really started to get me thinking about the set as a whole, and I think something that we really need to talk about and just be realistic about is how expensive these booster boxes are going to be upon release. And I'm not talking about MSRP from Pokemon Center or MSRP from somewhere else. I'm talking about on the secondary market. And I think it's important to be realistic right now. I try and be as positive as I can on the channel as often as I can. And there is some positivity to be had. But I think for this set, it's a very realistic possibility that we're going to see $300+ booster boxes out the gate, possibly even higher. And I have a little bit of data to back up why I think that. But on top of just some of the information that we have, and we're going to base that off of some of the other sets. This is the first mainline set since Surging Sparks. And you saw where Surging Sparks booster boxes are at, and we're going to talk about that and break that down. But even from the collector side of me, when you start to look at this set, I start to get extremely excited. And once again, that's just me wanting to collect the set, right? And there's tons of other people who feel that way. And we haven't even seen Team Rocket. We haven't even seen, except for possibly a Kangaskhan IR. And that's all we've seen leaked. So I think that the hype train is going to be full steam ahead once we start to get actual more Team Rocket news. The Japanese set for Team Rocket hasn't dropped. We haven't even seen, our Journey Together drop officially yet. So there's so much factoring in and leading up to this hype after Prismatic. I think that it's culminating into being the perfect storm. And let's just break it down and let's just talk about why I think that this booster box is going to be very expensive. We talked about this yesterday, but I just wanted to show this is not official, right? But this is the supposed booster box, so you can just take that for what it's worth. And yeah, it does look pretty cool. It does get me very excited. And this is the most excited I've been for a set since 151 personally, and I can honestly say that even without seeing any Team Rocket. Okay, just once again, I'm a Pokemon Gold guy growing up, so Ethan and Ho-Oh and Cynthia's Garchomp is an amazing card. There's so many already, like Misty Psyduck, so many great cards already from the set that have me excited, and it's only half. And if you're not familiar, if you're new, they're taking two Japanese sets. They do this a lot. Two Japanese sets, the Heatwave Arena or Hot Wind Arena, whatever you want to call it, and the Glorious Return of Team Rocket. And they're taking those two sets and they're putting them into our one English set. So we've only seen half of the English set, if you're not familiar with how it works. But this is what I wanted to talk about. Okay, Journey Together's not even out. It's already at $240, $250 for a booster box on TCG Player, right? This is just what they've been going for. You can see in the past month, they've come up from under 200 up to 240, 245. We're going to round up with taxes and stuff. You're paying over 250 for a Journey Together box, right? And you go, okay, well, that's just TCG Player. What about eBay? Well, right now on eBay, last solds were over 250. We're over 250 with shipping. These ones are lower, 210, 220, but then you go down a few more. Yeah, you do have a 230 down here, 250, 250. So around $240, $250 per booster box for Journey Together. Now, Journey Together is kind of more of a mid set to me. It's just not quite as strong. It definitely doesn't have anywhere near the amount of chases that half of Destined Rivals has for me. Now, I know everyone is different, so, maybe that Journey Together you like way more than Destined Rivals. There's nothing wrong with that, but I do think that most people are going to see that and agree. And let me know in the comments if you agree that Destined Rivals is going to be a much, much stronger set. I think that's kind of easy to see at this point. So if we're seeing these boxes at 250 already, and there is a silver lining, and I'm going to address that. There is a little bit of positivity, but I don't see how, with this happening already, how Destined is not going to be at least 300, if not more, upon release on the secondary market. So that is something that actually is kind of scary, and it puts another like emphasis on, at least for me too, like trying to get product at MSRP, and it's going to be difficult. But I just wanted to talk about and let people know, kind of brace people if you're newer to the hobby or you haven't really been keeping up, that Destined Rivals could be absolutely crazy. Even the PC ETBs for Journey Together have started to shoot up a lot. on TCG Player, going from 90 up into the 300s for Journey Together. And, I don't think that, especially the PC ETB, I don't think it compares to Prismatic, if I'm being honest, right? The prismatic one's just way better. So, these pre-release prices tend to be high, so keep that in mind, and that's what we're going to talk about right here. So, prismatic, last set to release before Journey Together, and once again, Journey Together not even out. So, but Prismatic came out, and you can see right here at release, right in here, things dropped on the PC ETB side. They're still very expensive, right? I'm acknowledging that, but they did go from 400 down to 250. Okay, and now they've shot back up, into the 300s, but it took some time for that to happen. Okay, so just because pre-release prices are high doesn't mean that that's going to be the price at release. We saw it with pretty much all the prismatic product. Even the regular ETBs right here, you can see it was right here. This was before, a few days before release, 150, and then we got to release, which is right here. This was release morning, 127. They dropped all the way down to 103, and now obviously they are shooting up. You can see in the past month they're up 11%. So they came off of that low. But this is what Prismatic was at the hypest hype, right? I don't know if Destined Rivals will match or exceed Prismatic Evolutions for hype. That is, yet to be seen. But Prismatic, insane hype, Evolving Skies 2.0, right, has a lot of demand, and you can see what happened. And then, it did come back up, and, ETBs are 140 now, but, they were 100, which I'm acknowledging is still expensive. Okay, $100 for an ETB is very expensive, especially for a brand new set. But, gauging off of what we're seeing on the pre-release prices. So I'm saying this is what I'm seeing for pre-release prices, but then after release they came down. You see what I'm saying? So that's why if you're ranking, and this, keep in mind, this is a specialty set. There's no booster boxes. So, things are a little different here with Prismatic. So once again, acknowledging that there's differences, but trying to compare with what we have. And then there's Surging Sparks. So Surging Sparks was a little bit different of a case because this came out in November, and you could see pre-release prices, at the time were high before the market had gone completely crazy. $150, and then they came back down to around 115, 120, and then closer to release, like right before release, they went to MSRP, and then they went up to around 200, and then they've been climbing, and now we're at like 255, 260-ish, depending, for Surging Sparks. And this is the last booster box set that we've gotten before Journey, right? So, Journey Together, it still isn't out yet, and then we have the Destined Rivals in May. So just this is a little bit of like, this was before the calm before the storm, a little bit, not the calm before the ramp up of the storm, in my opinion, was Surging Sparks. So you can kind of see that while it did take some time, look where the boxes ended up. So even looking at Surging Sparks, in my opinion, there's a lot of great cards from Surging Sparks. I do like it as a set. I still don't think, for me, once again, acknowledging some like Pokemon Gold bias and some nostalgia bias, that Destined Rivals already outpaces Surging Sparks, in my opinion. You have to factor in that the Team Rocket, even though they haven't even shown us anything yet, even if it's like mid Team Rocket, I think it's going to go crazy. So I'm basing it off of pretty much Journey Together and Surging Sparks prices, like kind of where they're at now. And I do think that fans, collectors, investors, scalpers, botters, everyone, I think they're going to be absolutely ravenous for Destined Rivals moving forward. And I think that is the scary part. So that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. And also let me know like where you guys think, specifically the booster boxes. Obviously there's PC ETBs, for this set as well. But let me know where you think Destined Rivals booster boxes will be, kind of at release. Then on Surging Sparks, if we zoom out right here, you can see the PC ETBs before release were more expensive, and then they came back down to like 100, and then they've slowly been climbing, and they still haven't broke the $200 mark compared to some of the other PC ETBs that we've seen, but it's taken some time. So, not as desirable. I don't know how desirable. The PC ETBs they'll be very desirable, but when there's booster boxes as well, I think the promo, it's going to be heavily promo dependent. So if we get a really great like Mewtwo promo, for example, from the Destined Rivals, that's going to make the PC ETB go absolutely bonkers. So that's something to keep in mind on the PC ETB side. And I do think that Surging has a nice promo with the Magneton is a nice looking promo. And then there's what we're seeing on the Japanese side. The Hot Wind Arena, it was Heat Wave Arena, I thought, but now it's Hot Wind Arena. Maybe there was like a translation error happening there. MSRP for Japanese booster boxes. So once again, this is half of our English set. MSRP is like 38 bucks, I think, ish. So call it 40. But these are selling for 120 currently. And, that is happening on eBay as well. We are seeing some of those sales, plus or minus a little bit, but over $100, around 120 for this booster box, for a $38-40 booster box. So you can kind of gauge that as well. That's not the most insane, but it's definitely up there. So we'll see. We'll have to see where this one kind of ends off. Also acknowledging, that this just came out, right? So the Hot Wind Arena just came out. It's new. It's hot. So that does play a factor as well. Maybe these prices will drop. Also on the Japanese side, they print way differently than us. They print a lot, right? And they're not afraid to print a lot. They've been able to bring prices down from like 151 boxes were over 200, bring them all the way down to in the 40s at one point. So if a set gets real hot, they can print to demand. So that is something for the Japanese side, so keep that in mind. But this set just released for the Hot Wind Arena. And then real quickly, if you're new to the channel, we're doing a massive giveaway. You can watch this video right here. Massive giveaway. I also have it linked at the end of the video. We're giving away Prismatic, Surging Sparks, 151, tons of stuff. If you want to be entered to win that giveaway, you just have to watch this video. It tells you exactly how to enter. It'll be linked at the end of the video as well. So, looking at the sets here too, if you want to just check out the time frames, I do think it's important to keep in mind. Surging Sparks, November 8th. Then we had Prismatic, January 17th, followed up by Journey Together, which is March 28th. So mainline, specialty, mainline, and now we're coming for another mainline in May. So I do realize that we haven't even gotten this set and we're already talking about the next set out. But I think, once again, I just think it's important to know for you guys to understand. Then if you want to take a look at kind of where singles are at from Hot Wind Arena. Now, these prices are high compared to eBay, and we'll talk about that. But you can kind of see where the top cards are settling, at least. You got the Cynthia's Garchomp being kind of clearly labeled as the chase, followed by Ethan's Ho-Oh and Ethan's Adventure. And then you have the gold cards here, right here. And then you got Typhlosion, you got Misty's Lapras as well, Misty's Psyduck, right? So lots of really great cards, the Roserade as well. So you can kind of see where they're kind of shaking out as far as on the Japanese side, like where they're valuing the chases. Now, like the Garchomp right here, if we look at eBay last solds, this is what we can see, 250, right in there at 250 currently. And there's not a ton of copies out there because, this just came out. So the supply on this card will go up as people rip boxes, but you can see $250 on the Japanese side. Usually when you start to think about it, it's much more difficult to pull in English, much more expensive. So you can start to kind of think how that's going to affect box prices. Once again, without factoring in Team Rocket even in the slightest. We're just talking about Heat Wave Arena, hot wind, whatever you want to call it. See, people are calling it different things. So 250 there, and then this is probably one of my chases, the Ethan's Ho-Oh at 170. You got a 160 and a 180. So you can call it 165, 170-ish current market on eBay for that. And then booster boxes on eBay. See, these are also selling, here's one for 112, 117, 125. So some of these, 105, some of these a little bit below what we were seeing on TCG, some kind of matching. So it kind of is evening out. Not everything on TCG Player was massively inflated. Some of the singles obviously are. But it looks like the box price is kind of right there. And then, something that's starts to get scary, and we're way out on this too. But the glory of Team Rocket, we're starting to see what the supposed Japanese booster box is going to look like, and you can see what people are pre-selling this box at. And this is where, when you start to factor this in, is where it kind of starts to get really scary. So these are as of yesterday sales, not this morning. This is because today's Tuesday, March 18th, as of this recording. 220, 220, 200 with shipping, 10 packs for 127. Uh, Box no promo, right? So we're looking at in the potentially in the $200 range. Now this is very early as well, so kind of understand that's happening here, right? So prices may be inflated, but this seems like absolutely crazy. I don't know if this price is sustainable for a $40 box. A $40 box going over 200. That just that and that's where it starts to get you start to get a little bit depressed, starts to bring you down, right? And you start to look at this stuff, and that just seems so far crazy out of hand. So uh, that all factored in. If you put a guess in the comments earlier of what you think Destined Rivals is going to be, what do you think it's going to be now after we kind of factor in that last little bit? It seems like hopefully prices come down on these. On both sets, because I'd like to see these be more affordable. Hopefully the pre-orders drop this week like we think, and hopefully the queue system works on Pokemon Center. If they limit stuff, that would be very helpful. People hopefully able to get some boxes in hand. So the optimistic side is pre-orders dropping. Hopefully the queue system works. So you got to kind of got to be on your toes and be ready, like kind of when it drops, to have the best chance. Makes sense, right? But also we should expect to see some sort of drop upon release, both for Journey and then for Destined Rivals, considering we saw it with Prismatic. So if you want to use Prismatic as the gauge, because I know that for Prismatic, tons of people, that's their favorite. That's going to be their favorite set of the era. That was their Evolving Skies 2.0. That was better than Evolving Skies. They were so hyped for it. It can't get better for them. I know a lot of people that fall into that category, and then I don't know if I know as many that kind of share my opinion, but I do definitely know some. So we'll have to see. Maybe there's more, way more like Prismatic people than Destined Rivals people, but I would expect that also too, if the prices are crazy, if the prices get crazier for Destin, then that's going to bring in the casual people, more scalpers, more botters, and all that, the negativity, because they'll chase the money. And so if you factor that in, I think that we are going to meet, if not exceed, the hype and demand for Prismatic. It's totally possible. I hope it, once again, I hope it's somewhat reasonable, but that is just the reality of where we're at in the market too. Also, important to note is that the Pokemon Company did say that they are printing more of everything, supposedly. So and that stuff is delayed. 6 to 7 months is kind of the number everyone throws around for estimated, like how long that takes to go into effect. These sets will be in rotation for a while as well. So, hopefully your chance to get it is not going to be, it's not just release or bust. So keep that in mind as well. You don't have to be chasing these high prices. I'll tell you, like, as much as I want this set, I'm not going to pay $300 per booster box for this set. I'm just not. I really am not at release, right? If it was down the road, after a few years after it's out of rotation kind of thing, then that makes a lot more sense to me. But not out the gate. I'm not going to, so that's my 2 cents on it. I do think it's going to be very expensive, and I do think it's very fascinating. While it is like scary and a little bit depressing, I think it's kind of fascinating, and it's a really interesting time to see kind of where things play out. So I'll keep my eye on it, and obviously I'll update you guys if you're this far in the video. If you're almost 20 minutes in and you're not already subscribed, obviously you enjoyed the content, and I will update you guys because I do daily collecting and investing content. So I'll keep you guys up to date with the latest news. So if you want to hit the subscribe button, throw a like in there, and then leave me a comment letting me know like kind of how you feel about the whole situation and your estimated price point for Destined Rivals. But that's going to do it for this one. My name is TJ. You're watching It Was Never a Phase cards, and I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.